Welcome to the Gay for Favre podcast, your one-stop shop for all things gay and all things Favre. We're your hosts, the Oldenburg Brothers. I'm John, that's Matt. Week one is
the commish in the house.
Week one is in the books. What'd you think? Was it all it lived
How great is it to have fantasy football back in our life?
Way better than just football back, for sure.
Way better than just football.
So, let's start here. Draft is over. We talked about the draft. We said what we thought, but now we got to actually see it, right? So who looks smart?
I got to go with Chris Beck for my who looked smart with their draft, especially after his piss poor performance last year, coming off a bender at the Badgers LSU game at Lambeau Field. We all kind of wondered what he was thinking with that draft performance, but leading the league in week one, 116 points, defeating a team with 77.3, which this week was not a bad score by any means. Ben Roethlisberger, Terrence West, Melvin Gordon, all in the mid to low teens. Cardinals defense with another 13 points and some points on his bench. And let's not forget Kareem Hunt, 40.6 points with a great showing on Thursday night.
I'm glad. Obviously, that looks fantastic, and it's probably going to be great. But here's also the point that I tried to talk about last week with the breakout season guys. What happens if Kareem Hunt has two bad games after this?
I don't think he will. I think he's
I don't think so either. I think it's safe.
And I think this shut up your big argument last week. Now, granted, there were a lot of rookie players that were invested big money in that haven't performed. But
my point isn't that Kareem Hunt will play bad. My point is that if he does play bad for 2 weeks, he's now a bench player again, right?
I don't agree with that. I think against a team like the Patriots, who, yes, their defense might have looked a little poor on Thursday, their Super Bowl championship team, that is a middle-of-the-road defense at worst. And for a rookie to come in and put up those kinds of numbers, I don't think it's an overreaction to say that you can expect 10 to 15 points out of that guy on a weekly basis.
Probably, but what I am trying to say is if he has two bad games, which he probably won't, because I think that was impressive enough. I believe that if he has two bad games, he's not going to be going back to like he will next week. They're going to stop going to him much quicker than they would a guy who has performed in seasons in the past. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it'll happen with Kareem Hunt, but I
think you could say that like some player on another team, like the Jaguars or the Bills or the Jets, but with a coach like Andy Reid,
he's going to go back to him
very consistent and level throughout a season. I don't think that's something we have to worry about. That's a very big if.
Yeah, I think so. But I think we saw it with Stephon Diggs last year, although he had a pretty good. And Marvin Lewis, they had one great game. Everyone picked him up off the bench, and then a couple bad games later, he goes to being on your bench again.
Who's your pick for who looks smart after week one?
So last week we were ragging on the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? I think Dave looks smart, doubling down on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gets 18 points of Leonard Fournette, 27 points as Jacksonville defense, 10 sacks. I don't care if it's a 1 week flash in the pan. That looks like some pretty good stuff. And we were talking about how we were opposed to that. There you go, Dave. You look smart, buddy.
88.1, third highest score of the week.
Something like that.
Solid performance. Well done, Dave.
There you go. You look smart. Okay, so now a little bit of a different perspective. So not necessarily who drafted well, but based off of what we thought of these teams, who was your surprise performance, good or bad? Who went great? Who might not have been great? What was your surprise?
Surprise performance of the week. He was picked up at 2:01 a.m. this morning. I don't know what kind of sleep apnea or if you were still on a bender from watching the games is going on with you, John Bauer. But way to get under Josh's skin this morning. I woke up to a stream of texts or in the middle of a stream of texts from those two. Sam Bradford of the Minnesota Vikings, 25.5 points. Got to be the biggest surprise of the week because he's probably only going to have like 3 or 4 games where he's even upright and playing, but we got to enjoy it while we can.
Right. I went with Mark's team. We were loving on him last week. Sorry, bud. That was brutal. That was not good.
That was brutal.
And so surprising.
You gotta bundle me into that package.
Yeah, we were all on the Mark train for once in our lives. Completely wrong.
Yeah. And day of the draft when we all voted, I feel like I got a lot of votes. I don't know. Maybe I was just hearing voices, but at the beginning, before the week, I was projected my team to score the most points. Odell Beckham goes down. Mike Evans doesn't play. I'm one of the bottom scorers for week 1 and tied for last place right now.
Yeah. You and John had a real tickle fight out there. It was not great. It was you win. Yeah. No, you win.
Being the last man standing, you should have seen the tickle fight we had after all you boys left from the draft.
Right. Yeah. And then I guess on the other end of things, I didn't see it with Kyle Jagler's team, but I think that what I liked about Kyle's team even more than Chris's team is Chris Beck had a 40-point performance. Not going to happen very often. Chris Beck did not. Or I mean, Kyle did not. Kyle's team was just really stinking consistent and scored 95.
Yeah, almost. I'm looking at it right now. Almost everybody scored over 8 points, except for Michael Thomas, who the Vikings defense is no joke, and his kicker. So, yeah, very well-rounded team. That's a good point. It kind of goes under the radar.
Yeah, so you're not going to score or have a guy score 40 points every single week. So what do you have when you take that out? And I think if you make the comparison, I think Kyle's team looked even better.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
Really, really good.
Easily overlooked on my part.
I would. All right, now let's look forward a little bit. We got in week 2 coming up. We know our matchups. What are you going to be watching besides your own? What are you going to be watching next week?
I got two big matchups this week. I'm going to start with you and Dave. You guys are the only 2 1-0 teams that are playing each other this week. Somebody's coming out of there 2-0, and we'll be in first place solely after week 2. I don't think we've ever had a sole first place after 2 weeks in the Gay for Favre Fantasy Football League.
I'm feeling the pressure now. I didn't even notice that.
Oh! Not you, Kyle.
And I just want to state that line is minus 11 right now. I am ahead.
You're up. I would expect nothing less. I think Dave's team is choking on some Skittles right now.
Joe Mixon.
Oh, big miss. Matchup number 2 on the other side of the league. 2 0-1 teams playing each other. Caleb and Mark. Somebody's coming out of there 0-2, and we'll have a sole share.
I just got to say, if you guys are watching this, man, just stop benching the guys that are going to score the points. Just put the guys in play. Let them play.
Let them play.
Both those guys, mega points on the bench this week. So hopefully they
What's your big matchup? What's your big matchup for the week?
I like the parity of Matt versus you and Chris. Now, this might be a little Oldenburg love for each other here, but I think Chris had a huge performance and you had an underperformance. So I'm looking to see those 2. Let's see you guys head on. Let's see what those guys do. I'm more interested in seeing more than you guys facing each other. I'm more interested in seeing if Chris stays high and if you stay low. Because if you don't get over 80, I'm writing you off. And if Chris,
I'll be disappointed. I came out of the draft feeling really well. I'll be disappointed in my team if I have 2 sub-70 performances.
Yeah, and then throwing a little Hunter John Bauer love, the 60-point performance matchup going into next week. 66 versus 63. I think, I like to watch those 2 because I think it's good to know which ones stay low and which ones are going to come up back high again. Although John is 1-0 thanks to your wonderful performance in week 1. Not to bring that up again. Not that I noticed.
It's, week by week. It's week 1, a lot of football left to be played.
A lot of football left, that is for sure. Well, we decided we wanted to end with a little segment we call Benched, where each one of us picks the worst decision and makes you relive it the day after you thought you could forget about it. So, Matt, start us off. Who got benched this week?
Witness Protection Program played guy on guy action. The final score, 88.1 to 58.7. Guy on guy action on top. Starting quarterback for Witness Protection Program, Andy Dalton, chalking up a -3 points.
Negative quarterback.
The second string quarterback.
You would have been better off not playing the quarterback.
By Witness Protection, you would have been better off without a quarterback. Benched by Witness Protection Program, scored 27.1 points. I did the math. I double-checked it. Had that second string quarterback played instead of Andy Dalton, the final score would have been 88.8. Witness Protection Program on top of guy-on-guy action. Matthew Stafford, you get benched!
Well, and what I love about that one, too, is that's just a poor decision. Andy Dalton over Matt Stafford? Do you make that call?
The beige water rocket or whatever. Or beige
Red rocket. Beige water rocket.
He's certainly not the red rocket anymore. Beige water pistol? What do you want to call him? Mark, you've been hot on him for a couple years now, and
time to let off, man. Get off the gas. All right. Well, I get to pick one that's very near and dear to my heart because Purple Rain, Josh Molnau, in a close matchup, 78.1 to 71.6. I only won out of garbage time with Drew Brees. Josh decides to bench Mike Gillislee, who rushes for 45 yards, scores 3 touchdowns, scores 22.5 points. Mike Gillislee, you got benched. That's all we got for you this week. We look forward to talking to you again next week after week 2 and getting a little bit more information about what these teams look like. Thank you so much on the Gate for Far podcast. We're out.